I'm number 8 and I'm going to discuss first the meaning of civil law. So during 1947, the Code Commission completed the final draft of the new Civil Code by December 1947, and this was submitted to Congress, which enacted it into law through Republic Act 386. The Civil Code took effect in 1950. It is the system of law concerned with private relations between members of a community rather than criminal, military, or religious affair. Civil law is the part of a country's set of law which is concerned with the private affairs of citizens.
I am number 20 and I'm going to tackle the Republic Act number 386, an act to ordain and institute the Civil Code of the Philippines. Why Civil Code in the Philippines is very important. Civil law is about conflict resolution, ensuring disputes between individuals do not escalate into a violent confrontation. It encourages cooperation between members of society, deterring exploitative behaviors and unethical business practices. The Civil Code provides the legal standards for the conduct of individuals, legal persons, other subjects, the rights and obligations of subjects regarding personal identities and property in civil, marriage and family, business, trade, labor relationship. The Civil Code has the task of protecting legitimate rights and interests of individuals and organizations, state interest and public interest, ensuring legal equality and safety in civil relations, contributing to the creation of conditions for meeting the material and spiritual demands of people and the promotion of socio-economic development.
Good day to everyone, I am student number 14 and for today we are going to discuss chapter 2, Human Relations. It starts with the articles number 19, 20, and 21. These articles apply either when first, one commits an act that violates of some legal provisions, or second, and more relevantly, one commits an act that does not violate any positive law but nevertheless violates the rudimentary rights of the party aggrieved. Under Article 19 stated that every person must, in the exercise of his rights and in performance of his duties, must act with justice, give everyone his due, observe honesty and good faith. This provision codifies the concept of justice and fair play, and this act also prevents another person from abusing his rights that he may have or otherwise have against another. A right, although legal because it is recognized and guaranteed by the law, may nevertheless become a source of some illegality.
The third provision is Article 21. Any person who will fully cause loss or injury to another manner that is contrary to morals, good custom, or public policy should compensate the latter for the damage. Article 21 is also called an actions contra bonus mores, or one that is contrary to good morals. This provision was enacted because of the countless gaps in the statutes which leave so many victims of moral wrong helpless, even though they have actually suffered material and moral injury. It provides adequate legal remedy for that untold number of moral wrongs which is impossible for the human foresight to capture in the statute.
I am 35 Toledo and I'm going to explain the obligations and contract and give you example about this. The law of obligation and contracts is one branch of private law under the civil law legal system. It is the body of rules that organizes and regulates the rights and duties arising between persons within society. Example of obligations and contract is in tourism and hospitality establishment. Entered into different contracts are part of the business. Once the contract is executed, the parties must abide with the terms and conditions stated therein and consider it as if it is the law that governs them. Another example is in hospitality industry. You tend to bought a land and make an agreement to the seller or owner. Therefore, if both parties have signed the contract, it becomes a valid contract. Contracts can be verbally as long as the item that you're going to buy is not that worth more than a limit.
I am 26 and I am going to discuss the penalties of violating the law of obligations and contract. Section 6. Obligations with a penal clause under Article 1226. In obligations with a penal clause, the penalty shall substitute the indemnity for damages and the payment of interest in case of non-compliance, if there is no stipulation to the contrary. Nevertheless, damages shall be paid if the obligor refuses to pay the penalty or is guilty of fraud in the fulfillment of the obligation. The penalty may be enforced only when it is demandable in accordance with the provisions of this code. For the debtor, the judges shall equitably reduce the penalty when the principal obligation has been partly or irregularly complied with by the debtor. Even if there has been no performance, the penalty may also be reduced by the courts if it is iniquitous or unconscionable, states in Article 1229.
I am number 23 and I'm going to discuss the penalties of violating the law of obligations and the contract. Section 6. Obligation with a penal clause under Article 1226. In obligations with a penal clause, the penalty shall substitute the indemnity for damages and the payment of interest in case of non-compliance if there is no stipulation to the contrary. Nevertheless, damages shall be paid if the obligor refuses to pay the penalty or is guilty of fraud in the fulfillment of the obligation. The penalty may be enforced only when it is demandable in accordance with the provisions of the code. For the debtor, the judge shall equitably reduce the penalty when the principal obligation has been partly or regularly complied with the debtor. Even if there has been no performance, the penalty may also be reduced by the courts if it is iniquitous or unconscionable, states in Article 1229.
I am 5, and I'm going to discuss the Title 4 sales under the Civil Code of the Philippines. On loan sale, a contract may be absolute or conditional. A conditional sale is the kind of contract of sale where ownership automatically transferred to the buyer upon fulfillment of the condition, without needed a new agreement of execute a new contract, while the absolute sale is the ownership transfer upon delivery, actual or constructive, even if no total payment yet. If no payment happened, the buyer becomes debitor as far as the price is concerned. The remedy of the seller is rescission and not reconveyance of the property, since the property already belongs to the buyer. Next is contract to seller is a special kind of conditional sale where ownership does not automatically pass upon fulfillment of the condition. It will only give the buyer the right to demand the execution of deed of sale, to compel the seller to sell. Ownership transfer only upon execution of the deed of sale or some other mode of delivery.
I am 32 and I'm going to discuss the barter under sales. First, let's define barter. It is an exchanging of goods and services to one another without using any amount of money. In essence, bartering involves the provision of one good or service by one party in return for another good or services from another party. On Article 1468, if the consideration of the contract consists partly in money and partly in another thing, the transaction shall be characterized by the manifest intentions of the parties. If such intentions does not clearly appear, it shall be considered as a barter.
if the value of the thing given as a part of the consideration exceeds the amount of money or its equivalent. Otherwise, it is sale.
I am number 17 and I'm giving you the example of scenario where barter is being acted and how can we relate barter in the tourism industry. Example, there is called a travel trade in the tourism industry. This term referring to tour operators, travel agents, and the wholesalers. These professionals organize and contract to buy travel products and sell to the other groups or individuals. They are going to sell the products and services to the customer, tourist, like organizing their itinerary and fulfilling their desire when traveling. In exchange for the customer and tourist may give a positive feedback or refer the travel agency to the people they know and who wants to travel so that the travel agency will gain more profit.
Hello everyone, I am number 2 and I am going to discuss the common carrier under Section 4 of the Civil Code of the Philippines. Under Article 1732, common carriers are persons, corporations, firms, or associations engaged in the business of carrying or transporting passengers or goods or both, by land, water, or air, for compensation offering their services to the public. Under transportation laws, a common carrier engaged in the carrying of passengers from the nature of its business and for reasons for public policy is bound to observe extraordinary diligence to ensure the safety of passengers transported by them. This duty of common carriers to exercise the highest degree of diligence commences from the moment the person who purchases the ticket from the carrier presents himself at the proper place and in a proper manner to be transported.
I am 11 and I'm going to give you an example of violating the law in common carriers. The scenario: a passenger attempted to ride a bus and was able to step on its platform, but ran over with the rear right tires of the vehicle and eventually died because of the driver's sudden acceleration of the bus. The court held the common carrier liable for damages, dissociating that the victim, by stepping and standing on the platform, is already considered a passenger and is entitled to all the rights and protection pertaining to such a contractual relation, even though he had not been issued a ticket or gained a seat. The court also ruled that once a public utility bus stops, it is in effect of making a continuous offer to bus drivers. Therefore, it becomes the duty of the driver and the conductor every time the bus stops to do no act that would have the effect of increasing the peril of the passengers while he was attempting to board the same. Such rule equally applies to all common carriers transporting passengers by land, such as taxis, jeepneys, tricycles, FX, or public vans. And that will be all for the Guild of Civil Law. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updated for all upcoming